Today we're going to talk about copywriting examples and why they convert. Let's go ahead and dive in. The very first ad that we're going to talk about is an old ad. You may have seen this, you may not have seen this, but if you check it out, it's right over there. It's from the Wall Street Journal. I have no idea what year it was written, but it was a long time ago, and it's done millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of ads. This ad may be a little bit hard to read up there on the screen, but you can get your own copy of it along with dozens of other highly converting ads from the 1900s until, well, up to just the past couple months. When you head over to clearcutcopywriting.com/big book, and you could grab a swipe file totally free. It's all yours. But here we go. Let's go ahead and dive in and check out some of these headlines and leads and why these work. So let me get my fancy little pin here and let's make this happen. So that way I can write and read and we can check this thing all out. So take a look at this intro, this lead and intro. It's very indirect. It's a very indirect story lead, but listen to this. Dear reader, on a beautiful late spring afternoon, 25 years ago, two young men graduated from the same college. They were very much alike. These two young men both had been better than average students. Both were personable. Both, as young graduates were filled with ambitious dreams for the future. Recently, these men returned to their college for their 25th reunion. They were still very much alike. Both were happily married, both had 3 children, and both, it turned out, had gone to work for the same Midwestern manufacturing company after graduation and were still there. But there was a difference. One of the men was a manager of a small department of the company. The other was its president. What's the difference? So look how powerful that is right here. I mean, look how you're creating this very vivid story of what's going on, and people can relate to that. And now it creates this curiosity because, I mean, look at this. You got, here's what this person did. They were both the same. And now you have this massive curiosity of like, well, what is the difference? And they start to answer that question right here. But they don't really tell you what it is until later in the ad. But this is a very powerful story lead. It's very indirect. And it's something where you can't just go out and be like, buy the Wall Street Journal, what's going to help you? So this is an interesting ad. It's worth millions upon millions and millions of dollars, and it's something that you can try with your products, your services. You can try a very indirect story lead, and the power of the story is to create that vivid picture, connect with your audience. So it may be through empathy, but allow them to relate to the person that's in the story. Because the entire time through the story, the person of the Wall Street, who would be a reader of the Wall Street Journal, probably went to college. They are full of ambitious dreams. They want success. They want all the same thing that this person talks about. And they may have even experienced the exact same thing where they're working alongside of somebody and they're wondering why that person's getting the promotion and I'm not. And that person's got the corner office with the windows and I don't. So they have those rivals in some of those businesses, which is where that ad's really cool. Now, it goes on. I'm not going to read this one to you. I just wanted to show you the indirect story lead and how you could use it in your business. Again, if you want a copy of it, I'm going to show you how you can get a copy of it. Or if you remember, I already did tell you, you can get it at clearcutcopywriting.com/big book. But let's take a look at another type of ad. And this is a famous ad that you may have seen before. But what never ever to eat on an airplane? The dirtiest, deadliest airline in the whole world. Now, how much curiosity does that headline drive? And if you fly a lot, there's some benefit, but this is a more curiosity-based headline than anything else. And then, of course, we all want to know things that we're not supposed to know, like this taboo stuff or, things that are secret. And that's all of this stuff, like this whole headline, man. You're like, man, what should I not eat on an airplane? Or this part, the dirtiest, that arrow didn't work out very well, did it? The dirtiest, deadliest airline in the whole world. You're like, man, I'm a flyer. I need to find this out. But then it keeps going in. Listen to some of these bullet points. And fascination bullet points are some of the best ways to create curiosity and drive action. But Here it is, how to get VIP treatment in hospitals. All patients are not treated equally. Cruise ship rapes, the uncensored facts which even the news media won't touch. So much curiosity inside that bullet point. How to find out if someone has a past criminal record, bankruptcy, or whatever they're hiding. The little known casinos in Atlantic City and Nevada that offer the best odds. Interesting. Deduct the cost of your hobby as a business expense even if you never show a profit. How to get an Oval Office tour of the White House. Get a hotel suite while paying for a room. How competent, incompetent are your lawyer and accountant. Check them out secretly. Very cool, right? Now you have all this insider information. I mean, if you look at a lot of those bullet points, they're making you feel like you're part of this elite group, that you only a small portion of you know the information. And now it's going to fulfill that personal benefit for a lot of people going, I know something that you don't. That's a very powerful persuasive factor. So let's take a look at another one. And other surprising secrets you're not supposed to know. How many of us want to know things we're not supposed to know? All of us, right? A friend goes, oh, you shouldn't know this. And you're like, what is it? What is it? What is it? It creates so much curiosity. So this whole intro of this sales letter is built on curiosity and all sorts of different benefits. Now take a look at how it continues to build on that. Dear fellow American, this letter is about information that's none of your business. For example, did you know that certain specific foods they serve on planes will lower your blood sugar count at high altitudes, leaving you tired, cramped, headachy? Now, perhaps you're thinking, why would airlines want to make me tired and grouchy? Well, they don't want to, of course, but they do want to slice the cost of each meal. So if it's cheaper and artificially tastier, then why not? Let's talk about survival. You think perhaps the air safety is minutely scrutinized by the FAA, that all airlines regard carefully? And I cut it off there. But just look at that. Now they're kind of creating this enemy of these airlines. So if it's cheaper, they're willing to cut corners. And you want to know, and that kind of goes back to this initial lead, the deadliest, dirtiest airline in the world. They're kind of creating this enemy, and you really want to know. You got to know, right? So this is, again, an indirect lead because you're not just straight out saying, hey, come buy this thing. They do mention it a little bit here where you can try it free, and you know that it's part of Bottom Line. But they don't come out and say, join Bottom Line today, right? Don't join Bottom Line reports. Instead, they wrap it in this curiosity. It's a very famous ad. It's done really, really well. Again, you can get a copy of it with this big book. As you can see, it's a really big book. It takes up most of the screen. You can get it at clearcutcopywriting.com/big book. All the sales letters that I'm talking about here today, you can get from this big book. It's in these big books, plus dozens of others from people like Gary Halbert, Eugene Schwartz, Mel Martin, Robert Collier, John Caples. It goes on and on and on. David Ogilvy, some of the best ads you've ever seen from 1900 until today. Some of the most recent ones, actually some that are currently running right now. All right, let's keep going. Here's another very cool ad that you couldn't run today, but you could kind of frame your ad similar to this. It's just another a great ad for inspiration to look at and why it works so well. So check this out. It's a doctor and a nurse, the doctor-nurse clearly, why the doctor gives his patients Schlitz beer. So look at that headline. We got crazy curiosity because we're thinking, why the heck would a doctor give a patient Schlitz beer? But there's also some proof in there, right? Because a doctor is giving a patient Schlitz beer. So, it has some authority there, like, well, man, if a doctor's giving it to a patient, it must be pretty good. And then you're like, well, why would a doctor give it to him? But maybe that makes sense. I don't know. And now you're into the copy, and that's the goal of the headline, right? The goal of the headline is to get your reader to read the first sentence, right? You got to get them in the copy. So here it is. And then it starts out with this question answer response. And check out some of these questions. Of course, they're tied up in objections and benefits. Nurse, why is it, doctor, that you use beer instead of malt extract? First logical question. Doctor, Schlitz beer nurse became Schlitz beer nurse because I have found that my patients assimilate it better and that there are no ill effects. Have you ever found anyone under your charge who did not benefit from it? There you go, right? So that would be the second logical objection they would have, like, well, does it work for everybody? Pretty cool, right? Nurse, no doctor, while some patients at the hospital where I was before were sickened by malt extract, I have never noticed such a result from Slits beer here. Even those just recovering from an operation retain Slits beer. Often it is the only food they can take. So that would be that's the objection, right? Does it work for everyone? The response is yes, we've never seen an issue. It works for everybody thus far. Very cool. All right, third one, doctor, it is the best nourishment. Crazy to think that that's true. Some of us believe beer is the best nourishment, not everyone. This would be a tough ad to run now, but the way it's structured is very cool. Doctor, it is the best nourishment. The care given in brewing, even to cooling it in a filtered air, makes Slits beer so pure that no harm can come from it. Slits beer, too, has a richness in food value greater than I have found in any other beer due to the barley, hops, and yeast used. Nurse, why is it, doctor, Slits never causes biliousness, which is like gas and stomach pain and digestion problems and all that. It's an old school word. No worries, need to worry about it. But that was an objection they had because malt extract causes these very bad digestion pains when they were in the hospital. Slits beer apparently doesn't. So here it is. Doctor, because Slits is thoroughly aged, fermentation is completed at the brewery, not in the patient's stomach. The final step after bottling and sealing is the sterilization through which it is impossible for any germ to exist. Notice something very, very powerful here. As they talk about the benefits, they also prove those benefits immediately. So it's a promise of what it's going to do and proof. And the proof is here. The final step in bottling and sealing the sterilization through which it is impossible for any germ to exist. Very strong proof point on why it doesn't cause these digestion problems, right? And if you go back, up here it talked about it as well, right here. So right here, the care given the brewing, even to cooling it in filtered air, makes Slits beer so pure that no harm can come from it. They were just talking about nourishment, now they're talking about filtering. So they said, yes, it can nourish you, and then they talked about why it was so good because it was filtered in pure air and all this other stuff. So let's keep going. Nurse, my patients seem to enjoy the taste of Slits. Doctor, yes, even old world brewmasters have complimented Slits on its full rich flavor, proving the goodness of all materials. Right there, huge proof point. Old world brewmasters, right? So in the beer world, those are people that you would come to respect. Brewmasters, right? Well, they are complimenting Slits beer. Huge proof point. Nurse, if Slits beer is such a benefit to the sick, it ought to be good for the well. Doctor, it is. And if those who are well would drink more of it, we would have fewer anemic patients, we would have less stomach trouble and nerve disorders. In every way, the use of Slits promotes health. I can't agree with it, but that's totally cool. It's a cool ad. But notice how when they went through this ad, they bounced off this benefit proof, benefit proof, benefit proof, and they mixed in how they made the beer to prove those points. So a very cool ad. And again, you can grab it with the big book. And let's move on. Let's do one more ad, and then you can download the big book and go check out some more, and we'll save all the rest of these ads for another day, another time. But here we go. This is a more recent ad. This one actually, I think, is still running. So, does your busy brain keep you awake at night? So, it is a problem lead, so it's a problem with the question. A lot of people have sleep troubles. We sold supplements for a long time as for sleep, and it was a huge market, still is a huge market. And that's what they're talking about here. Does your busy brain keep you awake at night? So immediately you're calling out the audience with this problem, and you're connecting like, hey, does this happen to you? Now check this out. Thanks to a new breakthrough, you can fall asleep in minutes and stay asleep. So question, does it keep you awake? And then boom, you jump right into this breakthrough. And when I hear the word breakthrough, I'm thinking it's medically proven, like some sort of science breakthrough. So there's a little bit of proof element. They haven't gone deep into proof, but that's where my brain goes. And then they tell me the benefit. You can fall asleep in minutes and stay asleep. If you know that market, that's a huge thing. And now look at where they go into this ad. They start to really empathize and connect with the reader to say, hey, look, we are you. We understand your pain. They're empathizing with this person. And they're painting a picture of what their life is currently like, and they're kind of twisting the knife a little bit so they can actually bring them from the pain points off into a better place. So here we go. George would go to bed dog-tired. He'd usually fall asleep pretty quickly, but he couldn't stay asleep. Nearly every night, he'd wake up at 3 in the morning and his busy brain would kick into high gear. He would start thinking about the bills he has to pay, the unpleasant conversation at work, his to-do list for tomorrow, and whatever else was stressing him out. George tried everything to relax. He drank. Now, before I keep going, notice that empathy right there. Now, if you're going to use empathy copy, if you're going to try and connect with the reader, you better get it right. Otherwise, they'll spot it from a mile away, and your sales letter, message, video, whatever it is going into the trash. So make sure if you're going to try and connect with the audience, you nail it, which means product research, market research. All right, make sure you get that part right. But if you do get it right, it connects with the audience very, very well, right? They're saying, hey, look, we're one of you. And then it goes into this. George tried everything to relax. And this market is huge about that. When we had our phone team running, we would talk to people and they would all say it. Oh, we tried this and we tried that and we tried this and we tried this and we tried this. They tried everything, and a lot of times your prospects are doing the same thing, because when people have a problem, they will try and buy until that problem is solved. The problem with that is every time they try and buy, they become a little more skeptical to your message. So when you become this very saturated market, like the health market is, they've tried and bought, they bought and tried so much that it's very difficult, because they're like, I've tried this. So immediately they're going through their head going, oh, I tried that. So this is a cool part in this ad, because if they think they already know what it is, like if they think they get into the ad and they're like, they're just going to tell me it's warm milk, then they're gone. They're done reading. Or if they think they can guess that it's melatonin, they're done reading. So that's what they did in this ad right here. They said, George tried everything to relax. He drank warm milk, he took melatonin, he tried chamomile tea, and even over-the-counter sleeping remedies. And while they helped a little, his brain still wouldn't shut off. He got to the point where he started worrying about getting a good night's sleep hours before bedtime. This created a snowball effect that made his sleeping problems even worse. By the time George came to see me, he was desperate. His sleep problems were going on for several months with no relief in sight. I just can't stand it anymore, he told me. I sleep for a few hours, then at 2 or 3 in the morning, I'm wide awake. My mind starts spinning and I just can't shut it down. When I finally get back to sleep a few hours later, it's right before the alarm goes off. George's insomnia affected his days too. He woke up groggy and irritable, and because he was so tired, he easily forgot things and wasn't very productive at work either. So now they're still painting that picture of how bad it was, but they're telling a story. And it's a story that people who have sleep troubles can really relate to. So here it goes. I gave George a very simple all-natural remedy to take about 15 minutes before bedtime. Curiosity. Oh my gosh, what did they give him, right? So this is a big curiosity point. They tried the warm milk, they tried the chamomile, they tried melatonin, they tried all these other things, but now they're giving him something else 15 minutes before bed. I'm curious. 2 weeks later, George told me he felt like a new man. He slept like a baby all night through. His mental chatter disappeared. His memory and mood improved. He was more energetic than his work productivity shot through the roof. And it was all due to a new all-natural breakthrough I will tell you about in just a moment. So there it is again. Boom. And that answers another possible objection right here is it, for this market, is it a prescription? Is it all natural? What is it, right? But now, and look at this big cliffhanger. I will tell you about it in just a moment. And then the ad keeps going to introduce the doctor who's actually talking about it. And again, you can check out that ad at clearcutcopywriting.com/big book. I think I have a picture of it. There it is. You can go right there. right there. I don't know why I'm pointing here because you can't see this part, you can see that part. There's the big book. But I hope this helped. One of the best ways to write compelling, persuasive copy is not to focus on like the individual sentences, but to focus on the structure. All right, and I did another video called the 4 Ps, and it talks about the different structures, but you can look at this big book of copy ideas and you can see how they structured the letter. You can see, and this works for video sales letters, it works for emails, it works for a lot of things, but you can see, well, did they go direct? Did they go indirect? Where did they promise? Where did they prove things? Reading copy like this and checking out videos like this where we break down good copywriting examples will catapult your writing ability, because you'll start to see that flow of like, okay, it's a promise, it's a proof, it's a promise, it's a proof, it's a, you know, cliffhanger to an open loop, whatever it might be. So I hope this helps you out. Maybe you probably want to watch this video a handful of more times and really see how I dissected some of that, like where we use curiosity, where we use benefits. And again, download the big book of copy. Go to clearcutcopywriting.com/big book. Grab all those sales letters. It's going to give you inspiration. It will help you end, all right? It will help you end writer's block, because anytime you're stuck and you need something, you can go and read how one of these legendary copywriters, you know, used proof to prove something, how they used curiosity, how they used benefits, how they went direct, how they wrote the headlines, how they wrote the lead, all of that kind of stuff. It's extremely, extremely valuable. So I appreciate you watching. My name is Sean Andrew Walker, and we will see you later.